Welcome back to this next episode of the Max Vasconcelos Show. I'm your host, Max. This is not going to continually get weird, I promise. I'm trying to make it seamless in transition, but I'm not used to saying my name as a host of the show. Bear with me here. I'm still getting used to it. But anyways, I got a lot of exciting topics I want to talk about today. There's quite a few things that happened in the gaming industry recently, and also a couple of things that aren't gaming related that are really important to me that I want to talk about. And it's just crazy to see where the world is going these days. But first thing I want to talk about is the PlayStation State of Play and my thoughts on it. Overall, this seemed like a pretty decent presentation. PlayStation's not really known for coming out with a ton of titles all at once, especially since they're now doing their own thing. I mean, most studios and companies are doing their own things in terms of presentations and showing off their games now, right? But the most notable games we got were, to me at least, were Death Stranding 2, Silent Hill 2 remaster, Hideo Kojima's next new espionage action game, similar to a Siphon Filter is what I got that to mean, I guess. And that's going to also be a movie, which is a little weird, but okay, I'll take it, I guess. Rise of Ronin looks absolutely fantastic. I'm going to talk about that more depth in just a minute. Until Dawn remaster, never played the original, but I'm interested in this one. Silent Hill short message, okay, it's free at least. I mean, you don't have to pay for it. Metro VR and Legendary Tales VR both look great, but again, they're PlayStation VR exclusives. Anyway, talking about Death Stranding. I love Norman Reedus. Actually, I was interested in playing the original Death Stranding just because of him. I just didn't like the concept of the game. Basically, it was a glorified walking simulator. Apparently, this next one is going to have a lot more action, like gunplay and things of that nature. I don't know. Again, I didn't play the first one, so I don't know if it actually had gunplay and things of that nature. I might actually go back and play it because this one actually looks fun, because seeing him take off the bag and actually fight people with guns is actually more interesting gameplay than you just trucking around with a baby on your stomach and weirdness. I didn't like the premise of the first one. It was very weird, but this one looked more interesting, so I'm going to maybe give that one a shot. So I got to play the first one. Silent Hill 2 remaster. They're not calling it remaster, which is weird, because it is a remaster. They're just calling it Silent Hill 2. It's confusing. I hate it when studios do that because it confuses audiences with the previous one. Anyway, Silent Hill 2 remaster. I'm going to call it that. Looks great. They didn't really... You could tell they put a slight bit more emphasis on trying to make it more combat-y, but they didn't want to go too far like a Resident Evil combat style, which I really like, because Silent Hill is just not like that. The original Silent Hill games were very much like you were just trying to get away and survive. It wasn't about you getting the biggest, most badass guns ever to like fight these hordes of monsters or these monsters in front of you. You were just basically doing what you could just to get out of the way. You didn't have very many guns. It was all about survival. So I like the look of it. It looks creepy as hell. I mean, I forgot about some of those monsters. The most notable one is always Pyramid Head or whatever, but everybody talks about that one. But seeing the one with the two legs, I'm going to show footage of that. Seeing the one with the two legs on top of each other, it's just creepy. So it looks absolutely great. I can't wait to play it. I'm very interested in this espionage game that Hideo Kojima talked about, because we need like Siphon Filter, Splinter Cell-esque games again. It's been a while since we've had something like that, because I remember back in the day on the N64, when Splinter Cell first came out, and it was the first time we had like a multiplayer experience with this. It was so much fun. Me and my buddies would come over and we would try to beat the missions, with the split screen and everything like that, and it was so much fun. I remember so many fond memories of Splinter Cell. I only played the first 2, maybe 3, and then I gave up on the franchise because I started going too far and I wasn't really interested. But I'm very interested in whatever this is, because it's going to be absolutely awesome, and I can't wait to see it. What they're going to do with that. And then the movie, I don't know. I mean, how is this going to tie in with a movie? Are they going to come out with a movie with the same story? Or is it going to be some of the story told in the game and then shown in the movie? I don't know. Anyway, we'll find out, I guess. Rise of Ronin. I'm absolutely really excited for this. I loved Ghost of Tsushima. I want them to come out with Ghost of Tsushima 2. I want them to come out with Ghost of Tsushima on the PC, because I played it on PlayStation and I want to play it on PC with higher frames, and I just want to play the game again. I beat it twice, basically in a row. It was absolutely fantastic. And the reason why I like that game so much, and why I'm excited about Rise of Ronin, is because I liked a game back in the day called Way of the Samurai. I've liked the first 2. The third one wasn't as good, but the first 2 were really fantastic games, and that's why that's why Ghost of Tsushima and Rise of Ronin have always been so interesting to me. I mean, it looks fun. It looks like it's just a hack and slash samurai game with some other elements, built in. I'm curious what the story's going to be like, if there's going to be decision making and things of that nature. But from what I saw in the initial gameplay, looks great. I really wish they would bring back Way of the Samurai. That was such a freaking good game. I want that back, but I digress. Okay, so Until Dawn looks gorgeous. They just remastered the game, apparently. It's not a full remake or anything like that. It's just basically, I think the game came out in 2012-ish. It came out a while ago. I never played the original because I didn't have a PlayStation at the time, so obviously because I was an Xbox guy back in the day, so I didn't have a PlayStation, so I never played the original. And I'm not sure if it came out on PC. But anyway, regardless, I didn't play it. I don't care where it came out. But this one looks great. And apparently, I didn't see if it comes out on PC too, but it looks good. And I actually want to play this. It actually looks really interesting. Silent Hill Short Message looks just like PT, which PT was a waste because they announced a new Silent Hill game with Norman Reedus and they never came out with it, which sucked. But again, it's free, so why not play it? I mean, let's just give it a shot. It looks creepy and looks very interesting, so why not? And then the two VR games they announced were Metro VR and then Legendary Tales VR, which both seem good. PlayStation finally put a little bit more emphasis on VR games, but it's more or less like, it doesn't feel like they're actually still fully adopting VR, which is frustrating. And Metro looks great. It really does. Metro VR looks fun. I mean, if you played the Metro games and enjoyed them in the past, this looks enjoyable. So, I mean, it does look great. And then Legendary Tales looks like just a fun little throwaway game. It doesn't look like anything super in-depth or anything like that with a story. It just seems like a horde survival game. Looks good. But yeah, I just wish PlayStation, because they have the best VR headset on the market right now next to Oculus 3. Why don't they put more emphasis on it? Come on, come out with more games more frequently instead of just 2 games. I mean, they might have some other games in the pipeline, but they're not really noteworthy. I mean, we need some new VR games that actually draw people to the platform. I'm drawn to the platform. I really want a Quest 3. However, I just haven't found a use case for it where I'm just dying to play it outside of Half-Life Alyx. I mean, I want to play that, but I'm not going to buy a VR headset for one game. Anyway, so I'm looking for more reasons to buy VR, and the Metro VR looks promising, but again, I don't want a PlayStation VR because it seems like a waste because they're not really putting a lot of emphasis into it. Let's talk about the train wreck that was the Suicide Squad now. All right, so I did not play the game, premise that. I seem to say that a lot, I've noticed. I'm talking about games that I don't play. Anyway, but I did not play the game because I'm cautiously optimistic about games. That's my reasoning. I'm sticking with that because I'm a smart spender with my money. Not really. You can see what I got behind me. I got a Steam Deck. I got all sorts of electronics. Anyway, I digress. So Suicide Squad came out last week to tons of negative press for the right reasons, but I would say it's not all bad. I know I'm going to contradict myself quite a bit in my take here, but I watched a couple reviews, more specifically Skill Up's review, because I trust him with a lot of information. And what I do when I watch people's reviews is I listen to what they have to say and I give my own opinion based on what I'm seeing and what I've heard from other reviewers, and I try to mesh my own thing to it instead of just regurgitating their information. So again, I'm just prefacing that. I had to watch some reviews to get my thoughts around what was really happening here. So my biggest question I asked when I was watching these reviews and watching footage for this game was, how did we go from the Arkham games to this? I just don't get it. I don't get it. How did we go from this gritty, super raw, grounded game? I mean, yeah, Batman's flying around, but it makes sense. He has a cape, and he's known for that in the movies and the comics. But how do we go from that to this flying around Borderlands-esque game that is the Suicide Squad? I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't get how we got from this raw, gritty game, the Arkham series, to this ridiculous Borderlands copy with a Suicide Squad paint. I don't get it. I hate it. It looks awful. The game looks awful. Seeing all the numbers pop up on the screen, how colorful it is, how crazy it is, it just doesn't work. I get it. The Suicide, I'm looking at my movies up here, so I get it. I'm gonna pull this down. I get it. Look, okay, I got all the steelbook for movies, right? So this is the Suicide Squad, right? I get it. They're supposed to be fun, right? I like this Zack Snyder's Suicide, or whatever, the James Gunn, not Zack Snyder. I like James Gunn's Suicide Squad, right? It was great. And I understand it's supposed to be more fun and flamboyant. I understand that. That's the Suicide Squad. It just did not work in this game. So again, I don't get how we got from the Arkham games to this. That was my biggest question I asked. And then I don't understand why they made this a live service game. What is developers and studios and companies' obsession with everything needing to be live service? A game just being a simple, straightforward campaign on rails that's like 10 hours, 12 hours of really high quality gameplay and cutscenes is fine. They would have probably sold more copies, been more inclined to make DLC or things like that in the future to make the game longer, whatever, if they would have just focused on making it a more on-rails story, more focused on the story, because it's not a bad concept. Look, do I love the fact that they're killing the Justice League members? No, but I do think it's interesting, like an alternate timeline, type thing, where they have to do this and then they go back to their timeline and everything's fine and the superheroes are being superheroes. Cool. It's an interesting concept. It's kind of like, back when Batman and Superman would always fight and things of that nature in the animes and in the movies and the comic books and things like that. It was just like those moments were cool for just a short time, but they went back to being heroes, right? I mean, and then it's kind of like the Suicide Squad, right? They're the heroes for now, and then they become the anti-heroes again later. I don't know. I mean, like I was looking for that. But anyway, back to the live service thing. I just don't get it. They're just trying to find a way to stretch these games out that don't need to be stretched out. Why? I don't get it. They've done this with so many games, not just Rocksteady, but just so many games in this release cycle of the past like 5 to 6 years have been like this. They don't need to be live service. They just need to be straightforward games. Games like God of War, games like The Last of Us, games like that, they work fine just as they are. They don't need to be more than that. Dead Space remake, Resident Evil 4, they don't need to be live service. They're fine with just being a game. That's okay. Anyway, that really irritated me. And again, I said in my note, one of my notes was, I don't like the story premise, but that's not true exactly. I like the idea, but I don't like the premise, meaning I don't like the fact that I don't like the direction they went with it, right? They just barbarically killed the Justice League and made them seem like mustache twirling villains. I don't like that. That was weird. It didn't show like there was no uniqueness to it, right? It didn't seem like, okay, like I remember in Zack Snyder's Justice League, right? When they were depicting, the world after Superman went rogue, right? That was dark, man. It was awesome. You know what I mean? It was scary and it was awesome, right? And then Superman really had great motivation to go that way, right? In this game, they're mind controlled. I hate it. It's kind of like the mind control thing is very similar to the whole time travel thing where they can erase everything with time. I hate that concept. It just drives me nuts after a while because they just try to, make it. Anyway, so they brainwashed him, mind controlled him. Cool. I don't like it. It was just dumb. I mean, and then the Suicide Squad had no uniqueness. They all used guns and flew around and were all the same. Nobody had any unique characteristics from what I saw outside of their appearance. The game just needed, I don't know, I didn't like the story. It seemed like a good idea on paper, and then they finished it and realized it was a bad idea. Does that make sense? And I don't know, I didn't like it. And then the whole game just felt corny overall, very corny. I didn't like the look, I didn't like the story, I didn't like anything. The only thing that didn't feel corny was the cutscenes. They felt high quality, they felt like they were well done. The voice acting, the face animations, everything felt really like it was a high production from that standpoint. Then you get into the game, it doesn't feel anything like that. It doesn't feel anything like that, and it's frustrating. And then why is the whole game outside? SkillUp brought this in his video, and I found that very interesting because I didn't notice it until he mentioned it. But the whole game is outside. From all the gameplay I've seen, it's all outside on rooftops, flying around, just doing everything outside, which from what I remember, the Arkham games were like that a little bit, but there was a lot of inside elements, right? Especially in Arkham City and Arkham Asylum, there was outside moments where you're doing stuff outside, like stealth missions or whatever, and then you go inside and fight the bad guys too and whatnot. It was cool. It was like a good mix between both. And the Suicide Squad, 98% of the game seems outside with a couple of inside fights or inside elements. I would have rather them had made Metropolis so much smaller. And again, this is the same thing with Starfield. Same exact concept. Why do they need to make the game feel so big when they don't have to? They can literally give the illusion of the game being big, but make it small and make it more focused on the quality aspect of it. I just don't get it. Anyway, so I don't get why the game was all outside. That was weird. I would have rather have had a more on-rail story. I talked about that already. And then also, again, I'm going back to the flying thing. Why is the game not more grounded? It would have been more fun if they were in the streets fighting and maybe there was some elements where they could jump higher or something like that, you know, some of the characters. But Harley Quinn, why is she flying around? Why is King Shark flying around like he's in the water in the air? Why is Captain Boomerang not using boomerangs? He's using a sniper rifle. I thought that was Deadshot. I did not think that was Captain Boomerang. I don't know, like their decision making with a lot of this stuff, why the game wasn't more grounded, why the game wasn't more focused on the characters' individual characteristics. I don't get it. It was just very frustrating. But again, the one thing is that frustrates me about this more than anything, all these notes I made and all these negative things I just talked about, is the game has so much potential to be great. It has so much potential to be great because A, it's Rocksteady. They make fantastic games and they have so far. And the second thing is that it visually doesn't look as bad as people are talking about. I really do feel like that people have cherry picked and like kind of picked footage that doesn't look good. And yeah, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look as polished and as clean as the original Arkham series. But again, it's one of those things that's like the cutscenes I've watched, they look great. The facial animations, the voice acting, the coloring, it looks great in all the cutscenes. But the moment you get into the game, it looks like absolute crap. Crap. It looks terrible. It looks terrible. And I don't get it. Because again, the idea is not bad. The idea is not bad. And the visuals aren't bad. I mean, Kevin Conroy was freaking great, apparently. I mean, like I didn't watch any footage of Batman in terms of, you know, the fight scenes or his full voice acting dialogue. But from the few things I've seen, Kevin Conroy absolutely nailed it as Batman again. I don't know. It's just like, oh man, this game has tons of potential, but they ruined it. It's already dead. It's already a dead game. It's not going to go anywhere. So that's it. Suicide Squad is done. They've murdered themselves. So this next topic is something that I'm actually pretty sad about, and the reason why I want to talk about it in this video, because this is going to be kind of my send-off to physical media. Again, in the last episode I mentioned I grew up in I'm a 1980s baby, or late 1900s, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, I was born in the late 1980s. So I've had physical media the majority of my life, right? And Best Buy has slowly but surely, outside of video games, removed physical media. They removed CDs. They removed, obviously, cassettes, VHSs. Now they're actually removing movies. They talked about this last year in October of 2023. You know, a lot of articles were produced around this. They talked about the fact that they were going to start removing physical media around Q1 of 2024. And part of me didn't want to believe that. Right? I saw the articles. I was like, you know, they're still going to keep it around. They got their Steelbook exclusives, blah, 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 and all this. But I noticed this. And I was actually, because I collect all the Steelbook movies. I showed off the Suicide Squad Steelbook. I've got a ton more everywhere. I mean, I've got the Avengers Steelbooks right there, and I've got tons all around me. Anyway, I've got a lot of Steelbook movies, correct? Anyway, so I love collecting movies. That's just something I've done. Series, movies, whatever, things I like. I've been a big collector of the Marvel movies for quite a while now. So for better or for worse, I do buy the majority, if not all, the Marvel movies that come out on Steelbook. So I was looking for the Marvels. I haven't seen the movie, but I wanted the Steelbook. My fiance, she loves Captain Marvel, and I wanted to get her the Steelbook, right? Anyway, so I was looking for it. And I was like, man, the movie's been out for a while. Why haven't I seen the Steelbook at Best Buy? I kept looking and looking and looking, only to come to find out that now Walmart has taken over exclusivity of Steelbooks. I don't know if all Steelbooks, but they for sure have taken over some of the Marvel ones, if not all the Marvel ones. Because the Marvel Steelbook is actually a Walmart exclusive. Had no idea. Missed my opportunity to buy it. Sucks. I'm pretty upset about it, but it is what it is. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is because this is significant. Best Buy's making good on their word, which, I mean, they're a company. When they say something, they're going to do it. I don't know. Like, I was kind of in disbelief that this was going to happen. I mean, granted, I admit, look, these things are just collecting dust because I just put them on display. I love seeing them. I don't really watch them. If I want to watch them, I pull them up on a streaming service. I get it. It's redundancy. But for me, I don't know. I love the redundancy of it. I love just physically holding the movie and knowing that, hey, I collected this. This is awesome, right? And I love that. And I don't know. It's just sad to me to see the death of physical media. We already moved away from that with music. Music's all now streamed, right? There's no CDs really anymore, if any. And then there's albums, like weirdly vinyl albums have become very popular again. And then now we're moving away from that with movies. We moved away from that with games a while back. Now when you buy a game disc or whatever, it's just basically worthless because you have to still download the game if you buy the physical disc. So there's really no point unless you just want the physical box, because the allure of buying a physical game in the past was with a digital game, you could technically maybe lose the rights to that game. That's why people bought physical games, because if you had the disc, you just pop the disc in and still play the game. You can't do that anymore. It's more or less one of those things where you have to buy the game and it's just a glorified placeholder on your wall because you can't have access to the game still because you have to download it from the site. And now you're just restricting yourself even more because now you have to have this disc in all the time. Freaking stupid. Anyway, so physical media for games has been going away for a while. I think Nintendo is one of the last ones to really kind of hold on to that principle of like, if you have the cartridge, you can still play the game wherever you want. I mean, you don't need to have the game downloaded online. But even they are going to more digital media with that. But anyway, I don't know. It's just sad. When I go to Best Buy now, it was sad when I saw the CDs go. But then I didn't care after a while. And it's sad to see the movies go. I don't know. That just hits a little bit differently for me. Because, again, I grew up with Circuit City and Best Buy and Walmart and Target and all these places where I could go and just see these huge shelves of physical media. I remember going to buy the Dragon Ball Z movies every Friday with my mom on VHS just because they kept coming out and I wanted to see the new episodes because I hadn't seen them yet, right? And I would see them a week early before everybody else with my friends. We would all come to my house and watch them, see them with my friends. Anyway, call me just a person of nostalgia, but I'm just sad to see physical media go from Best Buy. I mean, it's just, I know this is just the first step and it's going to take a while, but I mean, I'm seeing movies heavily discounted now on the sites. I see like every time I go into Best Buy, they have less and less movies. I don't know. It's just, it just hit a weird spot for me actually seeing that actually happening. You know what I mean? When I saw that they gave up exclusivity of Steelbooks, and they may still have some, but right now seeing a Marvel movie come out at Walmart as a Walmart exclusive, that just seems significant to me. And I was like, man, it just hit a weird spot for me. And I guess Walmart's going to be the last entity with physical media in the long run, and then they'll eventually get rid of it too as well, I guess. Okay, let's talk about this Apple Vision Pro nonsense. Now, the Apple Vision Pro is not designed to be a gaming headset. I understand that. It's just not. You don't play games on it. It's not like a Quest 3 or the Valve Index or anything like that. It's more or less just focused on being a media hub or whatever the heck it is. But I've been watching people with these things on. Outside of a couple of cool videos, I've seen, like, there was this one guy, for example, he was showing off exactly everything he could do, right? He was wearing this thing in his house, which makes sense. He was wearing this thing in his house, and he had different screens or different applications, kind of like web browsers and various things like that, pinned in various parts of his house. So he'd like walk to his living room and the TV was pinned with a YouTube video or something playing. Then he had a grocery list on his fridge, and then he had a news article or something he was reading over here, and then his wife had something up, and then it was pretty cool, like having all these different things pinned in your house, and he's wearing it around his house. Makes sense, right? But I draw the line when I see people walking around in public with these things on the subway, driving their car. I'm gonna show footage of that on screen right now just so you can see what this looks like. This dude was literally driving his car, his obviously automated car, you know what I mean, that drives itself. But still, he's wearing this thing, doing all the things, you know, trying to like, you know, look at screens and what. It's freaking weird, man. It's weird because it almost felt like the end times. I know that's dramatic, but it felt weird to see because I don't know, it was just odd to see people doing this in public, but they're not doing anything wrong. That's the design of the Apple Vision Pro, is that you're supposed to be able to see what you're doing and be able to still interact with different things around you. Like you're in a coffee shop, right? And instead of you having to look at your phone or look at your phone, you're able to just wear your phone or whatever device you want to wear. You would just wear it and then use it normally. And then if somebody comes up and talks to you, you can be like, oh yeah, hey, how you doing? You know, and it's just weird. Like, I don't want to interact with somebody wearing a Vision Pro. I don't know why. Like, could you imagine going on a first date or something like that? And then, you know, your date is wearing a Vision Pro and you're trying to talk to them, or you're going out with your buddies, or you're doing whatever, or like everybody's watching a football game at the house, sitting on the couch, and they're wearing their Vision Pros, and instead of like actually interacting with the TV and like being engaged with each other, or they're engaged. I don't know. It's just weird. It's just, I don't know. It just sent shivers down my spine to see all this, right? Or you're driving to a Lakers basketball game like I did last night with your Vision Pros on, and you're not even really, you're interacting with your spouse because you're like watching videos together. And I don't know, it's just weird. I don't like it. It's weird. But now when they announced the Vision Pro and the price tag and everything like that, the price tag is absolutely ridiculous. I think they're overcharging for it like crazy. But now what I see Apple is trying to do, now that I understand what they're trying to do more specifically, I get it. They're trying to basically integrate these into people's lives so they can actually just wear these things all the time. They're walking in the park, they're driving their car, they're sitting at their desk. Instead of having to look at a screen, they're looking at their Vision Pro, you know? They're, I don't know, hanging out with friends, whatever. That's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to just make it a lifestyle and not just a device for viewing movies and things. They want you to be wearing this thing nonstop, or basically nonstop, because that's how people are starting to use it. They're starting to just walk around the streets with it, ride subway trains, drive their car, hang out with their friends, go to coffee shops. This is creepy, man. I'm telling you, it's weird. Seeing where we're going now with technology and what Apple has actually done, they've not only created another virtual reality headset, they've created almost a lifestyle. And I don't know, it just kind of bothers me. So to kind of shift gears and talk about something a little bit more positive, or something that's more exciting for me in the tech space and the gaming space, is I'm going to talk about gaming handhelds, because we've come a long way from the black and white DS's, Game Boys, to things like the Steam Deck, which I play pretty frequently. I love this thing. I mean, you know, my fiance probably gets driven insane by the amount that I play this thing, because I'm sitting here on the couch playing it while we're doing things sometimes. Anyway, I love my Steam Deck, right? And I can't talk enough about it, which means I'll probably talk about it in multiple episodes going forward and in the future with people who I bring on and whatnot, because I actually really do think that the gaming handheld space is gonna do nothing but improve from here. Yes, you can see that Valve and the Steam Deck have really unlocked the floodgate. It may not, the Steam Deck may not be the most powerful thing on the planet compared to like the ROG Ally or the Legion Go or even the new MSI handheld coming out. But the thing is that you got to admit that it's been the most consistent out of all of them. It's had the least amount of technical issues compared to the other Windows machines, but I digress. What I want to talk about with this is I want to talk about how exciting it actually is to start getting into gaming handhelds, because one thing I do not like about PC that I miss about gaming on consoles more, is I really miss the flexibility of being able to just sit on the couch and just game. That was such a amazingly beautiful concept back in the day that I took for granted because I didn't know anything else. But now, as I've gotten more into PC over the past 6 years or so, and I've been sitting at the desk gaming more and more, the gaming handheld space has really kind of reinvigorated me about the fact that I miss that element of sitting on the couch and just gaming, because I do that all the time. There's not a lot of games that I want to play on the Steam Deck in terms of variety, But there's just sometimes where I just want to game on the couch and I have a set amount of games that I game on the Steam Deck on the couch. Example being games like Halls of Torment, Death Must Die, as well as older titles like, the Spider-Man remaster game, Miles Morales. Also, Diablo 4 runs really great on the Steam Deck. The list goes on. I have quite a few games that are primarily games that I game on the Steam Deck, and I do game on the PC sometimes, but mostly on the Steam Deck because I want to have those as my focus, right? Anyway, that's really where I'm getting at, is that I feel like that unlike VR, which is still kind of in a weird spot because VR is still not fully fleshed out. I think the Quest 3 is as close as we've gotten as to being fully fleshed out. And then obviously the Vision Pro is just something else completely different. I mean, that's more of a lifestyle thing now, in my opinion. The gaming handhelds are constantly going to be getting better from here because I think that developers, studios, and also, publishers and things like that are going to start realizing that, hey, there's a huge market here. People love these things. I mean, right now they're a little bit pricey, but people do love them. So they're going to start actually developing games around these handhelds. They're actually going to, instead of them just developing for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation and Nintendo, they're going to start making stuff that actually runs well on these platforms. And that's the beauty of it, right? Is we're getting another platform to be able to game on that's not just sitting at a computer, which is nice for me. And I understand that a lot of people are pretty upset with the limitations of these things right now because, yes, you can't play on the Steam Deck, for example. You can't play Call of Duty, or you can't play Starfield, or things of that nature. These super high-end AAA games like Remnant 2 or anything like that, they run really poorly on there. But I really do feel like that the overall point is being missed. This thing, like, look at my computer. This is a computer, right? This is a computer. That's a computer. They're the same thing, except this one is significantly smaller. It is significantly smaller, and you're able to play PC games from your library in your hands. I get it, it's limiting, but you got to think cooling. You got to think like, okay, well, these are APUs. They're not full dedicated GPUs. Who knows? We may get full dedicated GPUs in future handheld hardware. That's a possibility with how small things are getting and how compact they can make things. I mean, you look at my 4080, it is not compact. I get it, but that was because the cooler is huge. But my point is that yes, these are limited right now, but as future iterations come out, man, the possibilities are endless. We're going to get more and more power as time goes on with these devices. And I'm really excited for it because I feel like these things are going to be, dude, if we can get to the same power as a PS5 or an Xbox with these little tiny devices, man, we're in the game. You know what I mean? It's going to be awesome. And I mean, these things are pretty close. They're not like, crazy, but at the same time, I don't know, like, unlike Apple VR and unlike, VR headsets, I see the potential and the promise for these gaming handhelds. And I think that they're actually going to go a long way. And I really love these devices. I love what they're trying to do. I'm not as big of a fan of the Windows versions. Admittedly, I haven't played them personally, but I just don't like the layout. I like how the Steam Deck is. You launch in and you're basically in like a console-like platform. It's actually really nice, and I really do love the ecosystem of Linux and what they've built on the Steam Deck. It's really nice, and I'm looking forward to the Steam Deck 2, which I will be getting at some point. But yeah, I don't know, like, I'm really excited for the future of handhelds, and I cannot wait to see what they're going to do more with this because at the end of the day, the more options we have as gamers, the better we are, in my opinion, because that's going to make developers hopefully do a little bit better with developing games around these things. All right, so that's it for this episode of the Max Vasconcelos Show. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and if you want more future episodes, definitely make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm looking forward to having more of you in this community, and if you have any questions for future episodes, definitely drop those down in the comments below because I'm here to answer anything you got. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you next time.